There is one concept that has been asked in what and culture is the rule, and it's about temple architecture. Okay, so that is one simple question was asked, like we are covering PYQs from 2011 to 2023. So this was 2012 question that was asked, that is the Nagara, the Dravida and the Vesara are the very simple question. Okay, it's a very simple question. People might wish you get these kind of questions nowadays. Three main racial groups of Indian subcontinent, no. Okay, so three main linguistic divisions into languages of India can be classified, three main styles of Indian temple architecture, and the three main musical gharanas prevalent in India. Okay, so this is actually the temple architecture. So we know all these three are temple architecture, and not just this one question about the different type of temple features itself only. A few more questions were asked, like in 2014 we can talk about with reference to cultural history of India, the term Panchayatan refers to. So Panchayatan term, again it is related to temple architecture itself only. Okay, so what is this Panchayatan? We'll understand the concept later. An assembly of village elders, then again religious sect, then again style of temple construction, and an administrative functionary. So answer is C, it's a style of temple construction. So what is Panchayatan says that one. So along with the major deity in the temple complex, there will be 4 subsidiary shrines will be there. So major deity 1 and the 4 subsidiary shrines, it will become the Panchayatan style. So 5 different deities in the same temple complex that is called as Panchayatan. And we will see Panchayatan was used either in Dravida, Vesara or we can Nagara. We'll come to that. We'll understand all those things too. And then again, one more feature, recently 2019, building Kalyana Mandapas was a notable feature in the temple construction in the kingdom of, it's also very easy. So Kalyana Mandapas inside the temple complex. Okay, so Chalukyas, Chandelas, okay, then again Rashtrakutas, then Vijayanagara. So answer is the Kalyana Mandapas is kind of a secular activity within the temple complex. The art of, or we can say the feature of putting secular buildings inside the temple complex was a major feature of Vijayanagara style. So answer should be D. Answer should be D. So now we will talk about the entire temple features itself. So we will talk about the major features also, the major feature of Dravida, Vesara and Nagara. At the same time we also talk about the sub groups within the Nagara, also subgroups within Vesara, subgroups within Dravida also. Particularly in Nagara and Vesara we have subgroups. So we will talk about those major minor subgroups within the major development. And the base for development goes back to the Gupta's time period, because the personal god concept was growing. Because in medieval India, in ancient India, particularly in Vedic times, we talked about majorly it's about the yajnas and sacrifices majorly. But later what happened is from image worship, idol worships, that kind of things started to emerge. Why those things started to emerge is that one, that is because the personal god concept was emerging. And for the worship of the personal god concept, personal god, you require the place, and the place became the temple. Okay, personal god concept with the emergence of trinity of gods like Vishnu, Maheshwara and Brahma. Okay, so Shaivism, Bhagavatism, Vaishnavism, this was growing. And now if you require a place to worship, and therefore the Gupta period, and particularly around 4th, 5th centuries. Okay, so we will see the emergence of the Gupta time period, that is 4th and 5th centuries. So that is when the temple construction really emerged in India. Okay, simple construction of temples emerged, and later what happened, they became very elaborate. Later times, and particularly by the time of Chandelas, particularly by the time of Vijayanagara and Cholas in South India, and the temple towns kind of system started to emerge. So the temple, very simple temple, later became elaborate, and the same place started to emerge as a town because of so much of activities. So temple towns started to emerge over there. Okay, so at the same time, one more concept which made the temples became even more bigger also, and also they became the center of economic activity because of land grants which was given to temples. So temples also started to become materially very rich also. So land grants to temples further consolidated this trend, and kings also started to patronize. And when the patronization is given, and the kings used to give very massive patronage, and now the temple towns and temples cult started to emerge over there. First we'll understand the emergence of the early temples, that is features, the first stage. The temples are flat roof, okay, nothing elaborate over there. At the same time the temple outlet, or we can say the outline, will be very simple square shape. Later by the time of Hoysalas we can talk about the star shape started to emerge. The temple, the foundation shape we are talking about. Okay, and then again the portico was developed, and shallow pillars for the portico means in front of the temples. Then pillars were also very shallow. We'll see the image of this one. And the entire structure was also built on the low platform, that is just low platform away from the ground, just few feet away from the ground. And later what happened is that one, the I platform, it is called Jagati also later time, and decided to put the temples on an I platform from the ground. Okay, so these are very first stage of temple construction. So flat roof, portico, small portico or shallow pillars. Okay, so sort of very low raised platform. Okay, so simple. This Sanchi temple that's called of the Gupta time period. So that is when the temple construction emerged. See, low height from the ground, like a square shape. Again, there are no shikara. You can just look at this one. Okay, so there are no designs over the Garbhagriha. So this is Sanchi temple. You can just look at this one. And then again, early temples in the second stage, we talk about the most of the features of the previous time period continued, and now the platforms were started to become slightly higher compared to the previous time period. Very simple development. And again, two-storied complex, two-storied temples started to emerge. And then again, we can also talk about another important addition is that is the ambulatory passageway around the temple. The ambulatory passageway around the temple is that one, that is Pradakshina Patha, today we call it. That is to, if you go visit a temple, I think you must have noticed that one, that people go around the temples after praying, and that is ambulatory passageway, and that is Pradakshina Patha, which can be called as ambulatory passageway. So that is started to be added in the second stage of the early temples development. Okay, so that is, you can look at that one. So around the Garbhagriha, and also the platforms are becoming slightly higher from the ground. So this was, we can talk about the Parvati temple at Nachna that is in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so ambulatory passageway is a new addition, and again raised platform is a new addition. Okay, and then third stage we can talk about the emergence of, we can say, shikaras in place of flat roof were there, and now the shikaras were started to emerge. And shikaras also again the very low height. They did not have elaborate shikaras like when we talk about Khajuraho temples. You can see glorious, richly carved kind of shikaras we can see, particularly especially in the Chandela group of temple, that is Khajuraho group of temples. But in the initial times when the shikaras started to be added, and they were very miniature, we can say, that is very flat. Instead of flat roof, they started shikaras, but the shikaras did not have much carvings. Okay, so also height also very low and square in shape too. And again, this is a question that was asked, Panchayatan style. What is Panchayatan style is that one, that along with the major deity, there will be 4 subsidiary shrines will be there. So Panchayatan means there is 5. There are also 5 different deities in the same temple complex. So that is along with the temple of the principal deity. So temple will be known for one principal deity. Along with that, the 4 other deities will be there, and that is called as the Panchayatan style of development. Okay, so and where it will be placed, these 4 subsidiary shrines in the 4 corners of the temple complex. The major deity will be in the center, and the 4 corners around the temple complex, outside the temple complex. That is, outside the temple complex means the entire complex within one, and within the temple complex itself only, that is, we can see in 4 corners of that one, the overall complex. So we can see the 4 subsidiary shrines. Example is the Dashavatara temple at Deogat. So you can look at that one, the small shikara that is being added, Pradakshina Patha is there, eye platform. Okay, so this is one of the earliest of developments also we can talk about, the third stage of development. So this is the Dashavatara temple. And then again, styles of temple architecture over a period of time emerge, and the major styles are 3, that is Nagara, Dravida as well as Vesara. And we know the Vesara is the culmination of Nagara and Dravida styles. So Nagara and Dravida culminated into become Vesara style. Okay, so we will see so which parts which are borrowed from Nagara into Vesara and which parts of Dravida was borrowed into Vesara. We will go into see one by one too, because we are talking about the entire concept of temple architecture. Then further development, particularly in the Dravida as well as in Vesara happened, the Hoysala architecture came in, and again Vijayanagara style also came in. We are going to discuss everything, Nagara, Dravida as well as Vesara, and Hoysala also, and Vijayanagara also. So because Hoysalas are in news, so because of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, I think we discussed in last class also. Okay, so we will see Hoysala's temples in detail. And we also covered last year also, and they were in tentative list, but right now they have added to the list of World Heritage Sites, but a cultural World Heritage Site. So we will see in more details too. Okay, so first you can just look at these major differences, the conspicuous differences between Nagara, Dravida and Vesara. So you can just look at this one. I'll just slide over. So if you look at this, so you can look at the shikara. The type of shikaras in Nagara, Dravida and Vesaras are fairly different. And also we can see in Vesara style, the shikara is slightly resembles Nagara. Okay, Dravida is slightly unique, that is kind of pyramid kind of structures are there. So in Nagara style, that is slight spiral shape, it is called as, okay, the same kind of spiral shape can also be seen in Vesara. So this is the most conspicuous difference between these 3 styles of temple architecture we can talk about. Now what is the basic components of Indian temples? So there will be Garbhagriha, that is sanctum sanctorum. Very simple. It is the holy place. That is where the deity will be placed. And then again you can talk about the mandapa just in front of the Garbhagriha, where the devotees or the worshippers will stay, and at the same time they will pray to the god. And and at the same time on top of the Garbhagriha you can see Shikara. Okay. And this Shikara has different shapes, and that is curvilinear, or we can say spiral shape, that is in Nagara, pyramid shape, that is in Dravida. Then you will see some temple mount also, one Vahana, like suppose for example Garuda Vahana with respect to Vishnu temples, Nandi Vahana with respect to Shiva temples. Then again if you go to tiger and lion, in particularly in Shakti temples, or we can say mother goddess temples. So these are the basic components of Indian temples, very very simple: sanctum sanctorum, mandapa, then again Vahana, and then again Shikara. And the Shikara have different styles, okay, that's pyramidal to curvilinear. Okay, and then again another important feature is that one Prakara, that is the temple kind of a elaborate walls. Okay, so that is called as Prakara also, that is this one you can see. So this is walls, we can say. So this is also one of the important features of Indian temples too, and particularly these kind of Prakara, kind of putting temple complexes inside the boundary walls, that's majorly features of Dravida compared to Nagara. It's majorly a feature of Dravida too. So this is also one of the basic features, and we can also see in subcomponents of Nagara style, where you can see Kalinga style or Odisha architecture, where we can see these kind of structures too. So Prakara, one more feature. And now we'll come to the Nagara style of architecture. Okay, so this Nagara style of, that is 500 AD onwards. It started from the time period of Guptas in northern part of the country, and within this there are so many sub-schools out there which can be called as Eastern, Western, as well as Central Nagara school of architectures. That is, Eastern is represented by Kalinga, that is Odisha. Western is represented by Gujarat Rajputs, or we can say that Solanki Rajputs. And then again Central is represented by Khajuraho group of temples, which are Chandelas, another Rajput kingdom. Okay, so that is the major development that happened, and particularly started from the time period of 500 at 5th century. We can talk about started from the time period of Guptas. Okay, started from the time period of the Guptas, Nagara school of architecture. Okay, so these are the, again look at one more time. So we can see different parts of the temples. You can see Mantapa, okay, and again of course Garbhagriha is there, and top of the Garbhagriha you can see Shikara. On top of the Shikara you can see a fluted disc, and the fluted disc can be called as Amalaka. On top of the Amalaka you can see the offerings to the god, which is called as Arn or Kalasha. That is also there. So these are some of the basic features. Again, if you go deeper, if you want to do PhD, again there are so many different features of temple architectures are there, but these are the basic things which is necessary. So again, always go with the basics, and again basics with respect to whatever the terms and the concept which is asked in the PYQs itself. Little bit more understand, little bit deeper understanding would be fine. So, but basics should be very very clear too. And what are the major features of Nagara? So we can see the differences between Nagara and Vesara and Dravida over here. Okay, so the temples are generally for Panchayatan style. There is 5 one major shrine and 4 subsidiary shrines that will be there, and then again of course mandapas in front of the principal shrine. That is a basic component that is there in Hoysala, Vijayanagara, then Dravida, or in Vesara, or in Nagara also. And outside the Garbhagriha, so images of the river goddess, that is Ganga and Yamuna, will be there. The carvings of this particular images. So just outside the Garbhagriha, and that particular the panels of Garbhagriha, you can see that this is a carving of this particular images. And if you come to South India, and they carve different kind of images. Okay, they called as Dwarapalas. Okay, they called as Mithunas. Okay, different kind of carvings are there. So that is one of the basic differences. And at the same time, ambulatory passageway that we talked about, Pradakshina Patha, and that is within the temple complex itself only. That is around the sanctum sanctorum. Okay, so that is there. That is also one of the features of Vesara, and no water tanks as well as reservoir within the temple complexes. That is majorly feature of Dravida. Okay, so having this step tanks. Okay, so having these Kalyanis, which is also called as, okay, so reservoirs and wells inside the temple complex. That is majorly the South Indian temple premises. You can see that one, and upraised platform. Like I told you, that's the beginning itself only. That is the temples used to be constructed from the upraised platform, and this upraised platform has given a name, and that name is called as Jagati. And of course Shikara will be there, that is curvilinear in shape, the spiral shape, and top of the Shikara we can see a fluted disc. We already seen in that particular image, that is Amalaka. It symbolizes the lotus or seat of the deity. Okay, seat of the deity that is below. So that is what Amalaka symbolizes. And top of the Amalaka, that's offerings to the temple will be there. So offerings to the deity will be there, that is called as Arn or Kalash or Kalasha. So that will be there. Okay, these are some of the basic features of Nagara. And also one of the another important feature of Nagara is that one. So Nagara temples are standalone temples. You don't see elaborate boundary walls along Nagara temples. So temple premises did not have elaborate boundary walls or gateways. Again, this is also one of the features of Dravida style. So this is a Dravida style feature, that is putting water tanks, And then again, this shikara in a pyramidal shape, that is in Dravida style. Again, temple premises having the boundary walls or compounds, and that is again, that is Dravida style too. Okay. So now three shikara, curvilinear shikara we talked about. There are three subtypes are there, that which is called as, we can say, Latina or Rekha Prasad. Latina or Rekha Prasad. Okay, so you can look at that from the squarest shape, square shape at the base. At the same time, they're curving inwards also. They're curving inwards. Then again, Amalaka you can also see on top of that one fluted disc. So these are one of subtype of shikara within the Nagara style. There are three subtypes are there. One is Latina or Rekha Prasad. And then again, you will come to the second subtype, which is called as Pamsana. Slightly base, slightly wider. So broader base we can talk about. So base is slightly broader. At the same time, the shorter in height also compared to Latina or Rekha Prasad. Okay, so that is Pamsana. Then again, slope upwards in a straight line, sloping upwards. Okay, so you can simply ask these kind of terms also. Latina, Rekha Prasad or Pamsana are related to which of the following styles? They are related to, particularly in temple architectural style, that belong to Nagara style. Okay, so these kind of things that can be asked. And then one more last third type is that one, that is a wagon vaulted kind of shikara it is called as. Okay, so wagon vaulted, it's also called Vallabi also. So rectangular base is there, that was square base and broader base. This is quietly rectangular base, and the roof rising into vaulted chambers. So there are some examples of this particular temples are there. That is Telika Mandir, that is in Gwalior in Madhya Pradesh. It's a Shiva as well as Vishnu and goddess can also be seen. So all the three gods are also there in this particular Telika Mandir in Gwalior. So this is the three subtypes of Nagara style, that is Latina or Rekha Prasad, or we can say Pamsana, as well as Vallabi, which can also be called as wagon vaulted roofs. Okay, wagon vaulted, just for representation purposes. So different temples are there. So different temples, they can see big temples with this kind of structure, this kind of architectural styles you can see later. Okay, so this is majorly Nagara style. So Nagara style you understood. The shikaras are there. The shikaras, the different types of shikara, three subgroups of shikaras are there. Again, subgroups within the Nagara, like I talked about Eastern, Western and Central. So that is three types of architectures are there. That is Odisha, it's also called as Kalinga architecture. Okay, it can also be called as Kalinga architecture. Okay, so Khajuraho group, majorly Chandelas, over the feudatories of Gurjara Pratyaras, and Solanki, that is Gujarat majorly. Okay, so this Central India, this is Odisha, Kalinga. So we will see the different features of this Odisha, Khajuraho as well as Solanki group of temples also. Okay, so one by one we can see. We'll see the images also. First we will look at the features, look at the examples of this particular architecture. So we are going a little deeper, and then we also understand with diagram also. We'll look at the picture also of this particular temples too. So then Kalinga architectural style, like I already mentioned, is also called as, and there are no pillars. That is one of the unique feature of this particular temple architecture. And now mandapa in Odisha architecture, it is given a different name, and that mandapa is called Jagan Mohana. And shikara is also given different name, that is Rekha Dewal. Probably the pronunciation could be different. And one more architectural style within Odisha architecture is that one, that is temples having mandapas. Okay, so there are certain standalone temples are also there, but where the temples having the mandapa, they are called as Pida Deola temples. At the same time, certain kind of gopuram like structures which is slightly influence of the southern India, and such kind of temples were also there. And that gopuram along like Dravida, that is called as Kakara Deola. You will see the entire all these particular terms in a picture also. Okay, so not all the temples had these kind of particular features. So certain temples had this kind of feature, and the temples are called as Kakara Deola. Okay, so then again we talk about boundary walls like Dravida. Like I told you, Nagara style, the major features we have seen, but within these subgroups of Nagara, there are one particular style, that is Odisha, which borrowed certain concept from southern India, that we can putting the boundaries, putting the boundary walls for temples too. Okay, so that is boundary walls like Dravida which can be seen, and also like a gopuram like structures we'll see. So gopurams are the gateways for Dravidian style of architecture, so that can be seen in Odisha architecture too. Okay, so example, Lingaraja temple, and this particular question is asked, Lingaraja temple, especially to chronology. In 2016 this particular question was asked. We will try to answer that question also. And then again, it's believed to have built by Somavanshi king, Yayati, around 11th century we can talk about. Okay, 1025 to 1040. And then again some other temples, Jagannatha temple, there is a Vishnu temple in Puri, and that was built by King Indradumna Bhavanti, as built the main temple, and further expansion that has happened through Ganga dynasty. And Ganga dynasty king, that is Anantavarman Chodaganga in the 10th century. So look at it, it's majorly medieval phenomena. We can talk about 10th, 11th centuries. That is when these temples or this particular temple architecture was started to evolve. It's Jagannatha temple in Puri. Okay. So look at this one. Like I told you, that is Kakaradyula, then again Pidadyula, Garbhagruha and Rekadyula. Okay. So mantapas. So this is Kalinga styles of architecture or Odisha school of architecture. Okay. This is generally a gateway. We can talk about Kakaradyula. So this is, so all this art and culture is all about visualization. So you have to keep on visualizing. Okay, so that visualization was ultimately help you to remember most of the concept, because art and culture also sometimes it is very specialized skills. Okay, so it can be specialized skills from the history itself only. So it requires so a lot of visualization, also a lot of vague term. We can say that certain terms will come. At the same time, you have to be very smart enough to keep on revising all these kind of terms and keep on visualizing also. Keep on visualizing too. Then in Khajuraho group of temples, very famous group of temples, and it's Madhya Pradesh. It is built between, we can say, 9th century to we can say 10th century, 10th, 11th centuries by Chandela dynasty. And Chandela dynasty is one of the feudatories of Gurjara Pratyaras. Gurjara Pratyaras, the major dynasty out of Gurjara Pratyaras developed many Rajput dynasties, and Chandela dynasty is also one of the Rajput dynasties in Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat region. And these group of temples are UNESCO World Heritage Site, and these temples are known for lavish decoration. There is very rich decoration both in the interior of the temples as well as outside the temples too. Okay, that is in exterior, that is outside the temples, and interior inside the temples too. And these particular temples are known for particular theme of sculpture, and the particular theme of sculpture is romance, and that is erotic theme. And these temples are northeast facing. Generally, the Hindu temples are east facing, but it's slightly northeast facing kind of temples too. Okay, so that is this group of temples also very unique, because it is not just Hindu styles of temples we can see. We can also see Jaina temples also, because Rajputs are one family that gave patronage to Hinduism also as well as to Jainism also. So Hinduism as well as Jaina temples we can see. Example, the Lakshmana temple, Kandariya Mahadeva temple, and then again Vishwanatha temple built by various kings of the Chandela dynasty. So these are Khajuraho group of temples, and with a subgroup of Nagara, and it is a climax of Nagara style of architecture also. The climax means there is a peak of the Nagara styles of architecture that is reached during the time period of Khajurahos, or we can say are in the place Khajuraho during the time period of Chandela dynasty. Okay, so you can look at this particular picture. Okay, I'll slightly more Khajuraho group of temples, very tourist attracting places. You can see Jagati, higher platform, mantapas, then again Amalaka you can see, Kalasha you can see, subsidiary Shikaras you can see, Shikaras in a spiral shape you can see. Okay, these are built by Chandalas. Then again Solanki or Maruk Gurjara architecture or Chalukya architecture also it is called as. I can tell you there is 4 Chalukyas are there. Three Chalukyas are southern India, that's Kalyani Chalukyas, Badami Chalukyas and Vengi Chalukyas, and their interrelation is there, common ancestry is there. But a Gujarat Chalukya and they are different, no relation whatsoever. Gujarat and Rajasthan mainly, and these are during 11th and 13th century. And look at all this architectural time, that is 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th, 13th century. That is when all this most of these particular subgroups evolved to under Chalukya dynasty. And these are again Hindu and Jain temples also. And the main Shikara usually has many Urushringa or make it subsidiary spirals. I will show the images. Not just one Shikara, but there are subsidiary Shikaras for also there. And that is called as Urushringa concept. And at the same time, flying arches, that is between the pillars, some kind of flying arches, they're connecting one pillar to other pillar, flying arches for there. Again, I will show the image, don't worry. So first we will look at the feature, then we will look at the images. Then again, the step tanks and Surya Kund, that is having the step walls, that is again a major feature of Dravida. But again, that is slightly influencing one of subgroups of Nagara. They are having step tanks and kind of water related structures within the temple complexes that we can see in the Nagara style, particularly in Solanki architecture. Okay. So, and again, east facing, like Khajuraho group of temples we talked about northeast facing, but this is east facing, and they are designed in such a way that on equinoxes, that in March and September. Okay, so in the middle of September, middle of March, that is so when sun is on equator, that is called as equinoxes, the sun rays fall on the inside the Garbhagriha we can say. Example in Mount Abu, there are Tilwara temples in Mount Abu in Rajasthan we can talk about. Okay, at the same time Rudra Mahaliya temple in Gujarat, Rudra Mahaliya temple, then again Sun temple Modhera, Gujarat. So all these are famous examples of the Solanki type of architecture within the Nagara group. So within the Nagara group. Okay, and this is subsidiary spirals. Okay, that is Urushringa which is called as. Okay, so other than the major Shikara, there are some subsidiary Shikaras are also there. Okay, this subsidiary Shikara, and that which can be called as Urushringa. Then again, flying arches you can see that is connecting one pillar to other pillar. This also again keep focusing on the unique feature, the basic things. You don't have to again do PhDs in any of the topics over here. Just a little bit deeper understanding, but basic should be very, very clear. I keep repeating that one. Basic should always be very, very clear over here. Okay. Then again, I will come to Dravida style of architecture. We completed the Nagara style of architecture. Dravida, the same. Sanctum Sanctorum will be there. Garbhagriha. Again, Shikara will be in a different names will be given. Different shape will be there. Vahana will be there. Mantapa will be there. Prakshanapatha will be there. But there are certain differences. Which are certain differences? It is began during the time period of the Pallavas. First, we will see some political history of Dravida architecture and where it is developed and how it is developed. And then again, this climax by the time of Cholas, like how the Nagara style started around Guptas, reached climax by the time of the Chanderas, and now it is started around the time period of Pallavas, that is we can say around 4th, 5th and 6th centuries. So, and again reached climax by the time of Cholas, that is we can say 10th and 11th centuries, 9th, 10th and 11th centuries we can talk about. Okay, so that is where you can see these kind of particular structures, that is a Dravida style of structure, that is in south of river Tungabhadra. Okay, and developed in stages, like how we have seen Nagara style, which is developed in different stages, first stage, second stage and third stage. So here also developed in stages, and particularly at one place it started to develop, and which place it started to develop, that is Mahabalipuram. Again, this question is also asked. Mahabalipuram question is also asked, the Lingaraja temple question is also asked. So first we will look at all the temple architectural styles, then we will try to solve some more questions associated with that one. First, initially there were only mantapas of rock cut temples, and that is started by the time period of the Mahendravarman, one of the kings of Pallavas, who got defeated by Pulikeshi II of Badami Chalukyas. Politically, we will try to interlinking, and only Mantapa in the beginning. Like we talked about Nagara, only Mantapa in the beginning. Then again, rock cut temples added with intricate sculptures by the time of Narasimhavarman. Again, Narasimhavarman, again son of Mahendravarman, who defeated Pulikeshi II. We talked about that one. Okay, so intricate sculptures came to be added, and third stage is that one, the structural temples. Now, construction of not just rock cut temples, but rather so bringing material from one area and constructing a standalone temples, and that is structural temples. It is called as Rajasimha group of temples or Narasimhavarman second group of temples also. And lastly, the climax of the Dravida architecture by the time of the Cholas. Okay, so more variations and temple towns, elaborate temple complexes are to emerge by the time of the Cholas. And particularly we have to discuss about this Mahabalipuram, which features of Mahabalipuram are there. Of course, the same century, that is the 5th, 6th and 7th centuries. So various sculptural monuments you can see in Mahabalipuram. These also World Heritage Site, like how the Khajuraho group of temples are there. These also World Heritage Site too. Okay, so we will see different structures of Mahabalipuram. All these are factuals. It's also called as 7 pagodas. Okay, so these are remnants of the old 7 temples, Mahabalipuram, also called as Mamallapuram, on the Coromandel coast, the eastern coast of the Indian landmass. Okay, so it's stretching between Bay of Bengal and the Great Salt Lake. The Great Salt Lake, don't get confused with Great Salt Lake of America. So there is one more Great Salt Lake is there. So between these two areas that we can see Mahabalipuram. Pagodas means temples. The particularly it is used in a sense of we can say in the Southeast Asian context. Southeast Asian context, the European travelers called it as 7 pagodas. Okay, so they gave that particular name. Okay, and again, it's built over generation, like we have seen in first and second stage, Mahendravarma, Narasimhavarma, Nandivarma. Okay, so same year also, that is around 7th, 8th century, particularly climax by the time of 7th and 8th centuries, but in Mahabalipuram. So Pallavas as a politically, they were becoming quite important from 4th, 5th and 6th centuries inwards only. So who started it? Mahendravarman, a further expansion by Narasimhavarman. And Mahendravarman got defeated by Pulikeshi II, and Narasimhavarman defeated Pulikeshi II. Okay, so that is again try to interlink between art and culture as well as the politics also. Okay, so Mahabalipuram or Mamallapuram by the time of the Pallavas, so built over many generations. Then again Mahabalipuram, you can see over 40 monuments are there. The very important monument is that the Pancharathas, then again Shoru temple, the Krishna's Butterball. Okay, and these Pancharathas also ascribed to Pancha Pandavas. Okay, these are monolithic temples that is carved out of single rock over there. Okay, at the same time that is town is also called as 7 pagodas. Okay, so it is remnants of the old 7 temples. Then again the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1984, that is Khajuraho group is also UNESCO World Heritage Site, like I already mentioned. These are the 5 rathas. You can just look at this particular image. That is, even though they don't look like rathas, okay, so there are no wheels, but they are called as rathas. So these are again ascribed to different Pandavas, Mahabalipuram, that is Draupadi Ratha, Arjuna Ratha, Bhima Ratha, Dharmaraja Ratha, then Nakula Sahadeva Ratha, and they are related to different gods also. Draupadi Ratha, goddess Durga, then Arjuna, Lord Shiva, then again Bhima, Vishnu, Dharmaraja, that is Hara and Hari, that is both form of Vishnu and Shiva, then Nakula Sahadev, that is through Lord Indra. Okay, these are the Pancha Pandava Ratha. They can simply ask, that is monolithic Rathas are found in which of the following place, that is Mahabalipuram place. Simple. Okay, so Mahabalipuram place that we can talk about. And Pancha Pandava Rathas, these are also called as, these are monolithic without any wheels. Monolith without any wheels. Now the shore temple, and that shore means that is we can talk about the coastal areas, and the shore temple complex have 3 temples. Which are the 3 temples? That is Narapanthi temple, also called as Simha Pallava temple. Okay, so Narapanthi Simha Pallava temple, that is dedicated to Vishnu. Then Kshatriya Simha Pallaveshwara temple, again dedicated to Shiva. And then here there is a elongated Vimana and Shivalinga can be found, which is called as Dharalingam. Okay, and lastly, that is dedicated to Shiva again, and that is we can talk about Rajasima Pallaveshwara temple. Rajasima Pallaveshwara temple. So this is shore temple complex. So majorly dedicated to Vishnu also as well as Shiva also. But majorly 2 temples complex for Shiva and 1 temple complex is for Vishnu. So they can simply ask these kind of questions also. Shore temple found in which of the following areas. So there is a temple complex dedicated to which of the following gods. This can also be asked. Then again, sculptural relief, it is known for various sculptural relief. This question is asked in 2014 prelims. Again, we will solve this question. Arjuna's penance at descent of the Ganges, where Arjuna is doing penanceing to get a powerful weapon of Pashupata from Shiva. And the descent of the Ganges, Ganges flowing from the, that is dedicated to Lord Shiva again. So Shiva created, that is Ganges river. Okay, so from the heirs of Shiva. Okay, so that is we can talk about, that is sculpted rock relief of Mahabalipuram, sculptural reliefs, and again other sculptural reliefs, Krishna's butterball, and again Varaha Mantapa, then again so many are Trimurti temple, and these are all caves also. Initially it is started as the cave temples only, and later the structural temples are started to emerge too. So this is one of the famous temples, architectural place in India, which is also UNESCO World Heritage Site, started from the time period of Pallavas, this particular thing. And this is the later structural temples we can talk about in Dravida style. Okay, like I told you, outer wall, the temple complexes, outer wall is there. This is actually Vijayanagara temple groups, Virupaksha temple at Hampi. And this is Shikara, so which is called as Vimana in South India. Okay, Shikara, like I mentioned, that is also called as Vimana in particularly Dravida style of architecture. Water tanks we can see, the pillar always be there, and the entrance to the temples are called as what? Gopuram. And these kind of structures, like we see little bit of influences in Kalinga style of architecture also. What are the features of Dravida? That's high boundary walls, like we have seen already. Then again, gateway will be there, which is called as Gopuram. And then again, Shikaras rises in a pyramidal shape, not curving or not linear. Okay, it's called as Vimana. It is called as, okay. And sometimes even Vimana sometimes also referred to as Garbhagriha in South India too. Also, on top of the Garbhagriha, it's also called as Gopura, not Garbhagriha. On top of the Garbhagriha, it is Vimana, and that can also be sometimes referred to as Garbhagriha. Gopura itself only. Okay, and at the same time there is a one intervening hall between the Mantapa and the Garbhagriha. There is a one small intervening hall will be there. That is called as Antarala. So Antarala is the place where the priests make all the preparation to offer to the deity. So where devotees are not allowed, but where the priests make all the preparation. It's an intervening hall between the Garbhagriha and the Mantapa. There's a one small hall will be there. That is called as Antarala. That can also one of the features of Dravida. Then a water tank inside the temple complexes, that is there. Like I told you, that is just in front of the Garbhagriha on the panels. Some river goddess images sculpted will be there, especially in Nagara style. But here, Dwarapals as well as Mithunas as well as Yakshas, these kind of sculpture we can see in Dravida style. And it is also followed Panchayatan style, that is 4 subsidiary shrines along with the major deity, and that is Panchayatan style we can see in Nagara also as well as in Dravida also. And there can only one Vimana in the Dravidian architecture on top of the main temple. But in Nagara, what happened is that Shikara can be seen as the subsidiary temples also. Within temple complex, which there are some subsidiary temples. In those subsidiary temples also you can see Shikara. But in Dravida, you can see Shikara, or which is also called as Vimana, only on the major deity, but not on the subsidiary shrines. Not on the subsidiary shrines. And that is also one of the features of Dravida too. Okay, so this is famous Brodeshwara temples in Tanjavur. Temple complex you can see. Okay. Then again you can see pyramidal shape of Vimana, and then again Gopuram also we can see the entrances, Kalasha on top of that one. You can also see this famous Brihadeshwar temple at Tanjavur. And Vesara style, it is a combination of both these two, that is Dravida as well as Nagara. So it's also called as Chalukyan style because it is developed by the time period of the Badami Chalukyas. So Badami Chalukyas, that is in Karnataka. That is it's also called as Karnataka style also. So it is also called as Deccan style of architecture also too. It's major developed in Karnataka, particularly 3 places, Badami, Aivale and Pattadakallu, under the patronage of Badami Chalukyas. So it's also Deccan place also geographically, and the different names are given. So 3 places, Badami, Aivale and Pattadakallu. Okay, and it's also Aivale particularly referred to as one particular name, and that is cradle of Indian temple architecture. What do you mean cradle of temple architecture? It means here the experimentation in the temple architectural styles happened. The first experiments with temple architecture in India by mixing the northern concept and the southern concept, and that kind of evolution that was happening, and that is the reason Aivale is called as cradle of Indian temple architecture. And one river basin, that's particularly Krishna river basin, but particularly we can talk about particular river that is on the banks of river Malaprabha. Okay, so again that related to Krishna river basin itself only overall, and this is also known for very rich carvings, Vesara style. Because we can look at the Gopurams, we can look at the Shikara in Vesara is quite shorter, because it doesn't give much importance to the outlook, or we can say the overall volume, but rather what they gave importance to is that carvings, and the carvings was they could able to make more carvings because of the kind of stone they use, and that is sandstone, which is quite easier to carve also. Okay, and this particular style, the Vesara style, further developed under Hoysalas. So Hoysalas we will see that. That's a further subgroup of the Vesara we can talk about. Okay, so and particularly where it developed, Hoysala, that Beluru, Alebeedu and Somnathpura, we will come to that one. We will see those styles also. Now, what are the features of Vesara? Like what is the Shikara concept of Vesara that is borrowed from Nagara. Okay, this curvilinear Shikara, that is square base of Vesara, that influence from Nagara style. And what influence from the southern style, the Dravida style, is the carving, the sculptural carvings. The carvings and sculptures, they majorly influenced by Dravida. And Vimana is shorter, like I told you. Okay, so Vimana, that is we can talk about Shikara, which can also be called as, that is quite shorter compared to Nagara, compared to Dravida, because the more importance was given to carvings. And the Garbhagriha and the Mantapa joined by an Antarala, that Antarala again one of the features of Dravida style, that can also be seen. Then an ambulatory passageway is outside the temple. Okay, it is open ambulatory passageway, but in Nagara style the ambulatory passageway was covered, but is outside the temples also. And major difference within this Vesara, particularly the Chalukyan Vesara as well as Hoysala Vesara, is that one, the ornamentation, the rich designs. And the rich designs, we can see more richer designs in Hoysalas compared to Chalukyas. Chalukyas itself is more ornamentation. Even richer ornamentation we can see in Hoysala group of temples. Then Beluru, Alebeedu and Somnathpura. We'll come to that one. Okay, so very rich in Hoysala and Beluru, Alebeedu and Somnathpura. Okay, so these are the major features of Vesara group of temples. So we can look at the Vesara group of temple. Like I told you, Vimana is very shorter, but more carvings we can see. More carvings we can see in Badami, Aivale and Pattadakallu group of temples. Badami, Aivale and Pattadakallu. And now we are coming to Hoysala, that is 11th, 13th and 14th century. This was also politically one question was also asked. Which of the following dynasties were established during a time period of 8th century AD? Last year this question was also asked. Okay, so that was not, because Hoysalas were majorly 11th, 13th as well as 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th century, this time period. And again, here one concept we have to understand, and that is Ekakuta, Dvikuta as well as Trikuta. It means how many Garbhagrihas are there, how many deities are there within one temple complex. If it is there one god, it is called as Ekakuta, and 2 gods Dvikuta and 3 gods Trikuta. It went on to until 9 gods also. Okay, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it went on like that. So multiple shrines of different deities within the same temple, and that concept in Hoysalas are called as Ekakuta, Dvikuta and Trikuta. We will see examples for Ekakuta, Dvikuta and Trikuta. There are 3 places, Beluru, Alebeedu and Somnathpura. They are the examples of Ekakuta, Dvikuta and Trikuta. We'll see the images of those things too. And like I told you, there is very rich ornamentation in Hoysala style. Why there is a rich ornamentation in Hoysala style is that one, because of the kind of stone material they use. The kind of stone material they use is soft soapstone, which is very easy to carve. very easy to carve. And of course the upraised platform, that upraised platform is called as Jagati, but here the upraised platform in a very different shape, that is a star shaped. A stellate shape also it is called as. Sometimes a square shape also, but majorly star and stellate shape. We will see, that is also image, we are going to see that one. And again Shikara is not very high, like the Vesara group of temples is that one. Shikara or Vimana, it's not very high, but again major importance to carvings. And you can also see circular pillars, and most of the time we can see rectangular or square pillars in some temples, but here we can see circular pillars. Then zigzag walls also. Walls are not straight but rather zigzag. Okay, we will look at that image also. Okay. And then one more important style, that is Bhumija style, that is added to Hoysala architecture. So what is this Bhumija style is that one? That is, it is borrowed from Central Asia, sorry, Central India, not Central Asia. So a miniature Shikara is also carved and outside the outer wall of the temples. So along with the major Shikara, one miniature Shikara will also be there, and that is called as Bhumija style too. And that we can see in Hoysala group of temples. Okay, so miniature Shikara along with the is. Again, like I told you, it is known for carvings, known for sculptural panels, and these are Beluru sculptural panels. Okay, these are sculptural panels in Beluru, and look at the 3D kind of sculptures in Hoysala. Like I told you, that is very rich in ornamentation. You can see that image. Then circular pillars you can see. I'll just slide over, you can keep on looking at these images. Circular pillars. It's Hoysaleshwara temple in Alabedu. Then you can see Channakeshwara temple in Belur, that is one of the examples. Look at this star shape over there. Star shape, Jagati. And walls are also zigzag, not straight. Channakeshwara temple, Belur. Again, all these are in Karnataka. Particularly Belur and Alabedu are in Assam district of Karnataka. So on the banks of river Ekchi. So some more details we can see, because these are 3 groups of temples which have been added into UNESCO World Heritage Site as a 42nd site. So now we will see some more details. Ekchi banks, Ekchi, then again related to Kaveri river basin itself only. This is Ekakuta, that is only one deity will be there, and that is dedicated to Vaishnavism, that is Channakeshwara. Okay, Channakeshwara. And the Garbhagriha also houses an image of Krishna, that is Keshava. Okay, Vishnu, Vaishnavism. Okay, and step pond is also there. Again, that is one of the features of Dravida we can talk about, the putting of ponds and everything. But this is Hoysala's majorly Vesara. But again, Vesara is again a combination of Nagara and Dravida. So that is Vasudeva Tirtha, that check pond is called. And this was built by king, the very famous king of Hoysala, that is Vishnuvardhana. Very famous king, Vishnuvardhana, in 12th century we can say, that is 1117, built up in 12th century. Okay. And again, also called as this particular temple also called as, that is Vijayanagara temple. Vijayanagara temple. Okay, so this is Channakeshwara temple of Beluru. And then again you can see Alabedu. Again zigzag walls, you can look at that one. Zigzag walls, more sculptures. And originally this place was called as Dwarasamudra because of, refers to as a huge reservoir. And Dwarasamudra is famous for attack by Muhammad bin Tughlaq during a time period of East time period, that is 14th century onwards. It is a Dvikuta temple that dedicated to Shiva. 2 shrines, that is one is Hoysaleshwara, another one is Santaleshwara, and both of them are worshipped in Linga form. Shiva is also worshipped in Linga form, and one deity is Hoysaleshwara, other deity is Santaleshwara, and Hoysaleshwara represents the male aspect, and the Santaleshwara aspect represent the feminine aspect. Okay, so that is the masculine aspect also we can call it Hoysaleshwara, and then again Santaleshwara represents the feminine aspect of Shiva. And again built by the same king Vishnuvardhana around the same time period. So Beluru and Alabedu, the same kind of, the same king too, that is Vishnuvardhana, that is one of the famous kings of Hoysalas. And again last temple, that is Keshava temple. Again you can look at the miniature, we can say short Vimanas over here. It's a Keshava temple is Somnathapura. This is in Mysore district actually, on the banks of river Kaveri. Okay, banks of river Kaveri. And then it is also dedicated to Vaishnavism. 3 gods, this is a Trikuta temple, which are 3 gods, that is Janardana, Venugopala, then again Keshava. Janardana, Venugopala as well as Keshava. Okay, so and it was built by Somnatha Dandanayaka, not by kings of Hoysalas, but by one of the generals of Hoysala, that is Somanath Dandanayaka, and he was a general in Hoysala king Narasimha III. General of Hoysala king Narasimha III. Okay, so this is 3 major temples of Hoysalas. Okay, so that is Somnathpur, then Alabedu as well as Beluru. Then Vijayanagara style, we can also complete this particular style. 1335 to 1565, that time period. Majorly Dravida. We already talked about Dravida architectural styles. There is little bit influence of Islamic influence is also there. Some Indo-Islamic type of influence are there, particularly due to the Bijapur Sultanate, that is one of the Bahmani kingdoms, which are also contemporary of Vijayanagara. Okay, and walls of the temples are highly decorated. These are also highly decorated in spite of using art stone. So they use art stone, but still it is highly decorated. And again, musical pillars, that is also one of the important features of Vijayanagara styles. And again, tanks and wells. Particularly in Dravida, where we can see more Kalyanis, more Kalyana Mantapas, the secular buildings inside the temple complexes in Dravida is that in Vijayanagara styles. Now, secular buildings inside the temple. And what is the secular concept? Kalyana Mantapas, marriage Mantapas. Then again, dancing halls. That is a one question that is asked. Kalyana Mantapas or marriage Mantapas are the features of which of the following temple architecture, and that is Vijayanagara style. And monolithic rock pillars. And monolithic ratha is also there. And one important addition in Vijayanagara style is that one, particularly when the Dravida style began, the road used to be one gateway, there is one gopura. But right now, what Vijayanagara style did is that one, they started adding gopuras or gateways in all sides of the temples, in all direction, in all the 4 directions, they started adding gopuram. So that is also one of the unique features of Dravida too. Now we can see the Indo-Islamic influences in the Vijayanagara style, that is this arch method. This arch method. This is Lotus Mahal. It is an Ampi. It's a resting place for the royals. So Indo-Islamic influences we can see.